Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse here, and I am back for yet another 2021 recap video. Done a lot of talking about the year in general, just the channel and events and trends and tech and all kinds of stuff, but now we're going to get into the gaming part of the updates. So I think we're probably going to end up doing probably two more videos. This one and then the last one will be kind of a wrap up and a look ahead. The last one is probably going to be the longest because there's just so many games. But we'll see. I'll try to keep things as brief as I can, but give a little thoughts and details. So this one, I want to start off with taking a look at some of the accessible games, the blind accessible game highlights this year. And we've had a few. When I started making the list, I was like, this really wasn't all that good of a year for accessible games. And then I was writing things down. I'm like, we had a few pretty good gems this year, actually. So that wasn't too bad. Let me look at my list here. Oh yes. And these aren't going to be in any specific order, like when they came out or anything like that. Just ones that I could think of or that I looked up. Sortie Quest. Again, I mentioned them in an earlier video when I talked about the podcast appearances. This guy is killing it. He's making a mainstream game that is also voiceover, blind accessible. And, it's... one thing I like about it is that there are actually a little more gameplay elements. I've covered recently. I've covered a few games that you're building a kingdom, or you're building a mafia, or you're doing some other thing, but you're basically just clicking buttons and watching your numbers grow bigger, and then or you're bugging people through social media, join my crew, and then I get more benefits. Sortie Quest, like I said, it's a more mainstream game that has some of those types of things, but it actually has a little bit more, at least like kind of full RPG strategy, especially as he's built out more of the mechanics. Like, now you have different weapons and enchantments and different dragons and things and quests, and like on some of these activities, it's not just click a button, watch the level up number grow bigger. You're actually doing like a mini game. You're doing a matching mini game, or you're doing a, kind of a match 3 type of thing for, harvesting materials and things, or you're doing like a little, like a speedy, like what would you call it, like golf games have it, where you're watching a meter and then you're hitting the thing at the right time to do stealth. So there's little like stealth mechanics or just different things. So it's not just like watching a number grow bigger. There's actually more interactivity to it. So I really like not only that he's taking this mainstream game, making it totally blind accessible, and actively working on it. I mean, he's like taking it really seriously, which I totally appreciate. Love doing the interview with him. I was glad to talk to him live. That was awesome. But he's been maintaining and updating this game like just constantly. So shout out to Sortie Quest. That game for iOS is pretty darn good, and it's one that I do need to get back into at some point, and just because I haven't even played it since a few of these recent patches, so I haven't even experienced some of these things that I've told you about. But even when I played it for a while, like I was enjoying it, especially for something portable. I could play for a while, or I could play for a couple minutes. It worked generally pretty well. So Sortie Quest, pretty good game. Blind Drive. Now this one I have mixed the feelings on. Like, the presentation was great. I really did enjoy Blind Drive. I streamed it. I played it. I beat it. I think I beat it twice. It's a fun game, and like I said, the audio production was really good. Now the gameplay itself, like I said, is dirt simple. Like you could, I'm trying to remember if you, other than steering, like I think you maybe used one or two other buttons. Like gameplay complexity wise, you could probably play this on Atari 2600 controller. I mean, that's how simple the mechanics are. You steer, you dodge. There was another button for something else, I forget, but I got a kick out of the story. This isn't, it's not just a general driving game. It is definitely M-rated, um, but it was pretty damn funny, I do admit. I got a kick out of it. So, Blind Drive, it's on iOS as well, so if you want to play it on a touchscreen instead of a keyboard, you can play it on a PC, or you can play it on mobile. There might even be a Mac version, I think, but I don't recall. But Blind Drive, that was one that was a pretty amusing ride when it came out earlier this year. A Western drama, I think that came out this year. I don't know if it did last year, but I played it this year, so we'll call it this year. This one was alright. Like, yeah, for being a small development team and working with what they had, I think they did a pretty good job. Like, I enjoyed some of the mini game mechanics. Some of the voice acting was pretty good. I really like the music in it. Like, I'm not much into Western type of music, but the music fit what that game was supposed to be very well. So I really did enjoy that. But no, like an audio game, a purely audio game, this one actually was pretty good. I had played a couple other audio games I wasn't super impressed with this year. We'll get to those, but Western drama, you know what? It did all right. If you're looking for an audio game, and if you like westerns or that type of story, you'll get a kick out of it. So, Western drama. Let's see. Oh yes, Westopia, the slot machine game. Yes, just like Fruit Pot from years past, which a lot of other blind gamers really liked. Uh, um, and believe it or not, I didn't even put these in order intentionally, but yeah, Westopia, another Western themed game, but this time we have slot machines, and for the way it worked and the way the slot machines worked and how you unlock new locations, and sometimes you had to fix them if something went wrong or whatever. It's pretty good. Like if you just want to kill some time playing slot machines, the way the voiceover accessibility and just the overall sort of theming and atmosphere and sound effects and everything, pretty good, pretty good. Let me see if I can get this part up here. Come on, get this top part cleaned. But yeah, Western drama and Westopia. Got a couple Wild West themed games this year. And they're both accessible. So, then we have Blind Quest. That one I was not impressed with. Sorry, but I really didn't care for Blind Quest. I tried it. It's kind of one of those, it almost felt like a choose your own adventure kind of a thing, but it just, I mean, watch my video. I'm almost certain I did a review for it or a video for it. But I did not really find that one compelling. If you are looking for an audio game, unless you're really starved for kind of a text adventure sort of kind of RPG thing, I would say you can hold off on this one unless you find it maybe on sale or something. Did not care for that one very much. Lost in Blindness, that was kind of a unique one, pretty short. There were a few issues that I had with it, but I did a spotlight video for it, and I streamed it. And if I remember correctly, I think I might have actually played all the way through it. I think I beat it. It was, like I said, it was a fairly short game, but it has some stealth elements. I don't believe it had any combat. There were some simple puzzles, but I do remember a couple of those stealth rooms, especially toward the end. There was one stealth room in there that was kind of a doozy. You were trying to sneak through a bunch, like at least like 3 or 4 guards in there, and just doing it audibly without them hearing you was kind of a challenge. So that one, if you are looking for an audio game for PC, that one is not too bad. You'll get a little bit of playtime out of that. Sonar Islands. This is an iOS game. It's kind of got a monthly fee to it, but you can play against other people and things like that. And it's kind of I like the fact that it's got, again, it's not just tapping buttons and watching numbers go up. This one you actually are walking around a gameplay space and like defending your island and trying to get treasures from other people's islands. And it's one that I should get back into again a little bit more, because I do like some of the, it's kind of got some of the mobile navigation techniques like we've seen in other games, like I would say even some of the something else games where you can, walk around and then you're listening to audio cues so you can find the chest that you're trying to open, or avoid falling into a trap or deep water or something like that. So I know the monthly fee is going to turn some people away, but again, if it's something that if it's something that you can play, like I said, there's definitely a lot of interactivity to it, which I appreciate. So Sonar Islands, I would say, is not too bad. Not too bad. I did enjoy what I played of it, and I probably should check into it, play it a little bit more. What else? Crime Hunters 2.0. This was kind of, this was kind of an action game for the PC. It was kind of neat. We've seen a few different games that are like side scrollers, sort of like this. There's been a few of those around, and it was fun. But like I said, I didn't get too much into it. I had played fairly similar games, but again, if you're looking for something more actiony, and like I said, and this is where I have to remember, like I've said in many other videos, talking about audio games, and people have asked me also about this, and I am very thankful for the vision that I do have, because it affords me the ability to play, even if I struggle a little bit here and there. It affords me the ability to play a lot of mainstream games. And so when I come to an audio game, I'm used to primarily playing, mainstream games, which generally do have more gameplay variety, more replayability, deeper mechanics, deeper stories, variations in story, any number of things like that. So, when I say something is really good for an audio game, I'm not trying to give it like a backhanded compliment. And I realize, like I said, if you have no usable vision, largely these are the choices that you have. So like you can't, like if I want to play an RPG and if I was totally blind, like playing something like Mass Effect or something would be really difficult, because, you wouldn't be able to play that independently. But, like I said, a lot of these games, like, for the mechanics and the dev teams and stuff that they have, I think they did a really good job. And one thing that I also mentioned during one of my other streams this year, I was talking with somebody, and like a lot of these audio games are developed by other blind and low vision users. And especially, let's say you get a game that's developed by someone with no usable vision, they've only gotten to play the games that have been accessible to them. So as a developer, and if they haven't been able to play that many mainstream games, to know how they feel, to know how they play, because like take a game like this Crime Hunter or whatever. There's a lot of these 2D platformers on the computer that you can play audibly. But I've always felt that for the most part, the running and jumping mechanics have felt kind of weird. Like the way that you have to, like you hit up and then you hit right to jump, or just hitting up to jump in general. Like that's not how a general platformer, pretty much most platformers on a mainstream game would work. So it feels unnatural. It feels weird to me. But, if that's all you know as a developer, because that's all you've played, or that's how you would think it should be done, up, jump, that makes sense. So I can see where they would logically come to that conclusion. But until something, like a Mario game or a traditional platformer, the way that you're like holding forward or holding to the right and then jumping, the way that feels, the way that those mechanics generally work, they don't know that. And so that's why some of these feel a little bit less developed or a little awkward maybe to some people. Oh, I missed that area. So I just wanted to touch on that. I don't want to go into too much detail because these videos are long as it is. But I just wanted to give you my perspective when I'm talking about some of these audio games, and maybe some of them that I'm not as much into as you think I might be. Theory Driver Moonwalker. This one was kind of neat. I haven't really gotten back into it, but this is kind of one of those, like, it uses, if not the same engine, it's very similar, I think, to the engine they use for Blind Quest and some of these other ones. But I think this is probably one of the better ones. This is one of the best ones that I've played. You're going through, you kind of have to really learn the layout of the city. Like, he'll tell you what roads you're going to, and then like you're needing to find a certain location, or you might find some kind of random events happening. And they do have some sort of like, more interactive elements, not just choosing things from a sequence of menus or something. I kind of like the sort of noir style that they were going for with it. I kind of appreciated that. So again, if you're looking for that type of sort of adventure game type of deal, Theory Driver was sort of interesting. I kind of like that. Battlefruit, if you're looking for an accessible battleship game, but maybe with a food twist, Battlefruit is not too bad. I actually quite enjoyed what I played of that, actually. It was pretty challenging. You're unlocking different play boards. It's not always just squares. Like, there's different types of fruits that are different shapes that you have to find. There are different shaped play fields, and it was just kind of a neat game. I did a video for that on the channel, and that is an iOS accessible game that I would definitely check out. The Veil. Yes, The Veil. That is one of the major titles that I know a lot of people have been looking forward to this year. I did do a full playthrough on Twitch. Those are unlocked now as well on the channel archive, so you can watch those. But I would again, if it's a game that you can play, yeah, okay, if you want to watch it, great. I mean, I appreciate the support. But I would also recommend that you purchase the game for yourself because, listening to the game or listening to or watching the game is not always the same as playing the game. It's fun to make those choices. It's fun to try to get past some of those bosses or battles or interactions. It's fun to do those things for yourself. So, I've played games that are sort of similar to the Veil, like in a lot of their mechanics, whether it's navigation or the combat. But I did enjoy it. I remember during the second stream, I had a little bit of a technical issue. Thankfully, the developer kind of knew about it, and they ended up patching it the very next day. So I ended up doing, I think, 3 streams that weekend, and I actually ended up beating the Veil. So yeah, I think I did it in 3 streams. Had some trouble with a few of the battles. Some of them actually got, the mechanics again are still pretty straightforward. They're still pretty easy. But the old saying, easy to learn, hard to master. Some of those battles got to be kind of tricky toward the end. So, I think there's definitely some replayability into it. Like, if you want to try different types of weapons and different loadouts and, seeing how well you can do against the different battles and bosses and different things. It's a fun little game. And it's not only available out for PC, but it is also on the Xbox. So you buy an Xbox One and people are used to playing things like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter or Killer Instinct. Well, now you have another game that you can play that is not a fighting game. You actually have an audio game on a mainstream console. And hell, I bought it for PC. I played it on the PC, but guess what? I bought it on the Xbox as well because I wanted to support just the fact that we actually have a fully blind accessible, fully audible, audio only game on a console. And you really don't see that. You really don't. So definitely check out the Veil. I think I did a spotlight. I might have done a spotlight video on it too, just to show you a little bit of it if you're curious. Oh, Rosemary's Fate. Well, the fate of this one is not good. This is another audio game. It is available on PC. Not sure about mobile. I tried it. All I'm going to say, watch my video if you want to see the examples and see if it's something you'd want to try. But all I'm going to say is it was rough. The production values were not all that good, but the gameplay I found to be very frustrating. I'm generally pretty good at audio games. I feel like I can figure out the systems. I figure, I feel like I can navigate an environment audibly pretty well. But, no, Rosemary's Fate, I mean, the best thing that I can really say about it is it was rough. So definitely hold off on that one. Downtown Mafia and Christmas Lords and Knights. These are a couple of recent mobile games that I covered on the channel. And these are ones, we talked a little bit about them, the type of game before. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these. They are very voiceover accessible. So if you're into games where you're building a kingdom, kind of like Facebook style games, you're building your Mafia, you're building your kingdom, you're doing whatever, but you're just kind of clicking on buttons and watching numbers get bigger and, there's timers and there's different things like that. The Mafia one is basically like Mafia Wars was on Facebook 10 years ago. Lords and Knights and Christmas Lords and Knights, it's a similar concept, except it's a medieval kingdom building game instead of building a mafia. So, like I said, I mean, a lot of people, I'm not knocking anyone who really enjoys these games because they are done very well. They're built very well. They're just not my real forte. I like a little more interactivity and control in my games. But I did cover them, and like I said, for what they are, I think a lot of people might really enjoy them. So those are some of my accessible game highlights. Oh, we have two more that I absolutely have to talk about. The first being, of course, Hearthstone Access. So Blizzard, I know with all the controversy that they've been going through, we talked about that already. But we got a modder from the community who took it upon himself to make a mod and keep updating it because every time Hearthstone updates, it breaks the mod, and so he's got to release another patch. But he's been keeping up on it, and I streamed it. I did a spotlight video for it, and the way he's made this single player and multiplayer card battle game that's very, very visual work. It works amazingly well. He even made a fresh new tutorial so that a blind user would be able to figure out the mechanics of the game and learn them. So I thought he did again, just a fantastic job of that. Very impressed with Hearthstone Access. You got to get the Blizzard launcher, you got to get Hearthstone, you got to download the patch. I talk about it in my spotlight video, but again, that is a really good example of taking a mainstream game and it wasn't done natively by the developer, but showing how mods can add just an exponential amount of accessibility to a game. So very, very impressed with Hearthstone Access. Last but certainly not least, I saved it for last on purpose, the Toby accessibility mod for Doom 2. Shout out to Mr. Alan D1 on the work he's been doing the last few years on this project, because it has become a pretty amazing product. Again, this is a mod for the original Doom, making it playable by the totally blind. Now, keep in mind, it doesn't work with all the original vanilla levels of Doom, but this year he has now done 3 level packs, each one based on the 3 original episodes of Doom, because there's a few extra bits of scripting and things to make some of the audio cues and stuff work that they don't have in the original levels. So he kind of made ones that were largely based on those, so that people would have something to play. So there are about say between 16 and 20 levels of Doom that are fully playable for the blind. And I'm sure he's going to keep working on it. There's potential he would like to get the original levels somehow playable. I don't know if or how that's going to work or when that'll happen, but I mean, again, even when Riley was up here in 2020, 2019, we talked about Doom, and she loves it and wants to play it and didn't think she ever would. Well, she dumped me. No, and then, but no, I mean, literally shortly thereafter, I did not expect it to go as well as it did, but it is we have content to play as a totally blind player. So, basically one of, if not my favorite game of all time, that is still being supported not just with the Toby mod, but with there's mods that are coming out as full games that were announced at Realms Deep this year, So, like, there are still full games that are coming out with the Doom engine and GZ Doom and things like that. So, the fact that this game is still being supported by the general public, and now blind players are even able to play some as well, is a really, really great thing. So that's where we'll leave on accessible games. I do want to, before we wrap up this video, there's one other short category I kind of want to talk about. That is PS5 exclusives that I played this year. And there's not too many of them, but I do want to mention them outside of the regular games that we're going to look at in the next video, because these are games, like I said, we have the launch of a new system late last year. And I want to give that system its credit because I was able to finally get one. I was finally able to get one through the work that I did earlier this year. So, I want to talk a little bit about this exciting new generation of gaming. Some of the stuff is probably going to come to the PC, some maybe not. But the PS5 in general, its major selling point to me, or one of its most unique aspects, is the controller. The DualSense controller is pretty dang incredible, especially with the packed-in game that the PlayStation 5 comes with. Astrals Playroom is just a joy. It's bright, it's fun, it's just really good looking, good sounding, but when you try, like, I know other consoles have had Rumble forever now, but you have not experienced, like, this level of haptic feedback until you've played with the DualSense, because Astral's Playroom is phenomenal. Like, I talk about it in the video for it that I did, but like, you can tell what surface you like, walking over different surfaces, walking on wood versus metal or glass feels different. You feel the thing like when it rains or when there's wind blowing, or like when you're doing your rocket things, like there's actual varying force feed. Like, it's so hard to explain. You have to really legitly feel it to really understand. But the degree of feedback that game has is incredible. So, the Astros Playroom is comes with the system, and don't think of it as a cheap pack-in. Absolutely make that the first thing that you play, because it is going to show you the potential of the DualShock or the DualSense controller. And it is just, it's a really great tribute to Sony's history, and it's just a damn fun game. It's a fun and charming game. I mean, full stop. It's damn good. Astro's Playroom, loved it a lot. Then we come to one of our other really big exclusives earlier this year, Ratchet and Clank, which I don't believe I ever got around to doing a video for. I think I was having some issues recording it for some reason, which is why I haven't. That is another game that is not blind accessible, but they have added a lot of other accessibility features, so I still have to give the developers a lot of credit for doing what they did do. I very much appreciate their high contrast mode that you can kind of toggle on. Kind of shows you what surfaces you can go on and everything. That really helps. That being said, I have not beaten that game because I still had trouble with it in some aspects. Like, the graphics are simply just, they're really, really good. But as a result of that, like I said, there are some times where there's no real navigation assistance there, other than the kind of showing surfaces. So there were a few times where I still wasn't quite sure where to go, or I had trouble. There's these like weird bug things you run on. They're called speedles, and I did have quite a bit of trouble with some of those sections. So there were still parts of it that I found to be kind of frustrating. Um, but Ratchet, if you can see well enough, Ratchet and Clank is a damn fine game. It is really good. It is one of the best PlayStation 5 exclusives, I would say, that we have, other than Astrals Playroom. That is the biggin that I would say. Returnal also came out earlier this year, and I wanted to like it. I really did. Like, I like the art of it. It kind of has this time loop sort of a thing going on. That was neat. It looked and sounded good. But, it was a kind of a roguelike or roguelite type of thing, like sort of with the time loop aspect. It was just a lot harder to, like, it was a hard game. And I struggled with it quite a bit, either seeing where I was supposed to go. The bullets that you dodge, like, it was kind of a part bullet hell type of thing too, where enemies would just barrage you with just tons and tons of bullets. But they were these bright, glowy bullets, which were easy to see, but I was still sort of having trouble with some of the just navigation, and I don't know, for some reason the game didn't quite click with me, and I had a little bit of trouble with it here and there. So some people may really like it, but I think there's still some visual issues here and there with it, and depending on what vision you have or how much patience you have, because if you die, you're starting the game entirely over. So if even, let's say you have a good run, and you even, like people have said this, if you get in a couple hours and you biff it, you're starting over. Now there may be shortcuts that'll help you get back a little quicker, but that's still a lot of things you got to do over. So it's a neat game. It's a neat exclusive, but it just didn't click with me the way I was hoping that it would. So that is Returnal. What other game? Let's see. I know we have one or two more. Returnal. Oh, SpiderMan Miles Morales. Yes, yes, yes. I really enjoyed this one too. They built on what they did in the Spider-Man original on PS4, Marvel Spider-Man, and they have the Spider-Man remastered, which I also have not really played yet, and I really should, because with the way that they did some of the accessibility things in Miles Morales, I still had trouble with little bits here and there, but largely some of the visual stuff and other accessibility features. I did a video for it showing you some of this, but like it worked really well. Having that, being able to focus on, go toward the waypoint where you're supposed to go, or making the giant waypoint very, very large, just comically large almost, in the environment really helped. So, yeah, I played that, and I beat it within a few days. Like, Miles Morales was shorter than the full Spider-Man game, but I think that's in its benefit, because it told a really tight story. I loved the characters, just the environments, the interactions. Like I said, there were a couple issues here and there, a couple areas I had trouble with, but largely I absolutely loved it. So Spider-Man Miles Morales, that is another one. If you own a PS5, definitely get the Ultimate Edition. I forget what it's called, but it's like you get Spider-Man Miles Morales, the remaster, or you get Spider-Man remastered and Miles Morales, which is the way I bought it, because I wanted both, because in the remastered version of Spider-Man, they also went in and put in some of the same accessibility features that they added to Miles Morales. So, I had played a little bit of the Spider-Man game on the PS4, but had a little bit of trouble. But with some of these new accessibility features of Miles Morales being put in the remaster of the other one, is really helpful. So, definitely recommend that exclusive. And the last one I want to mention, it's not a PS5 exclusive, but if you don't have an Xbox, but you have a PS5, I'm going to release this video sometime in the near future. I have it recorded. I just did the other day. But The Matrix Awakens, the Unreal 5 technology demo, yes, the graphics are pretty amazing, but there's a lot of other things that it's doing, like with the way it builds the world and the other fact that it's the Matrix. It's a pretty cool experience. So that's really all I'm going to say about it here. It's free. You can download it on either Xbox or PS5. It's a really kind of a neat showcase of what potentially the Unreal Engine 5 will be able to do. So I'm just going to leave it at that and recommend that you check it out, because it is pretty interesting, pretty amazing. So that is where we're going to end this video, because the next one is going to be the main meat of games. This is where we go through just a lot of my game highlights. I have obviously not played everything this year. There's no possible way I could. But these are just some games that I've either played or want to play or just have something to say about. So these are going to be PC, Nintendo, they could be, PlayStation, we've kind of covered already. But these are going to be games like that. So we're going to wrap up the video here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys are liking these videos. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. So until next time, I will chat with everyone again in the next video.